God bless everybody for this season and for this time. I know some of you have been eating and you are coming to eat more. That's good. It's good to eat more. Yeah, you'll see me very soon, Michael. I'm coming. Michael, I'm coming. Something powerful is happening. People are flying back and forth like butterflies, like birds. Jesus. I got a word in the wind of power. 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 Periscope butterflies. For your periscope butterfly. These are periscope hawkers. You'll see me very soon. I'm looking for all the periscope butterflies. They move north, south, and west. They are looking for whatever they want to devour. Okay, 1 minute, 2 minutes, 3 minutes. Periscope butterflies and periscope hawkers. Oh Jesus! I am in fasting, so I don't have the strength to talk more. No, nobody is guilty. You choose to hear what will help you. I believe most of you are learning, most of you are studying, most of you are chopping. They are chopping. Periscope butterflies is good. It's good to eat. I'll come. You'll see me very soon. Don't go anywhere. I'm coming. Welcome the butterflies. Welcome the flying eagles. Welcome everybody. I got a word and I am in a fasting. You may not see me most often these days because I am waiting on the Lord. So it's good that you can have food somewhere. Fojo, are you there? Hey, Jesus. People, I want you to share. Share what God is bringing. Share what God is bringing. You can go on our website and watch it live. Watch it live. Go on our website, Whopperfan, www.whopperfan.org, and you are going to watch it live over there. Watch it live there. You will enjoy it at that side. No, this fasting is not for Periscope people, it's my own fast. If you follow me, you will die because I'm going a long, long, long way. The next time you see my face, I may look like a skeleton, but yet I will carry power. But this fasting is not for Periscope people. Oh, Jesus. Remember, the dreams and prophetic conference is coming on at the end of the month. Nkechi, how are you doing? Nkechi, I'm missing you. I don't know where you've been. God bless everybody. I want to share something with you quickly, and I'm going out. I want you to understand that most of you understand that we are getting deeper. Michael, God bless you. We are getting deeper, and I'm going on a long journey. After that, I believe the dead must rise up. Hey, God bless you. You know, our national anthem will be played very soon. Second Samuel 3 verse 33. I want to talk to somebody. People share and invite somebody. Share and invite somebody who would also love to hear this. Share and invite somebody who would love to hear this. I want you to read Psalms 3. Psalms 3 verse 32 to 34. Psalms 3 verse 32 to 34. Psalms 3 verse 30, Psalms 3 verse 32 to 34. I want to talk to you, and I want to take you to the next level. I wish all my beard would be white, but I believe that after the 30 days long baton I'm going, my Mississippi, God bless you, welcome. My gray will turn white, and you see my eyes brighten like the bright morning star, and I can see through the veil of darkness, and I can see through the veil of light. May the Lord help us all. You can watch us online. I said Samuel, 2 Samuel. 2 Samuel. There's a big difference between 2 Samuel and Psalms. 2 Samuel chapter number 2, verse 32. Oh, nipa stretch me. Sort of on way. Come on. Oh, Jesus. When you hear this song, then you know we are here. Now, 2 Samuel 2, verse number 32. Sorry, 2 Samuel 3. 2 Samuel 3, verse 32 to 34. Oh, Jesus. 2 Samuel chapter 3. That's they buried Abner. Somebody call it Abner. I call it Abner in Hebrew. And the king lifted up his voice and wept at the grave of Abner. Ayadabaziata. As long as I live, nobody will cry this cry at my graveyard. I want you to take this from me, and I'm going to speak to your heart and your soul. 2 Samuel 3, verse 32 to 34. 2 Samuel chapter 3, verse 33, verse 32 to 34. I'm reading. I want you to share. Share this broadcast with somebody. Let somebody hear this. That says the Lord. That says the Lord. That says the Lord. That says the Lord. 2 Samuel chapter 3, verse 32 to 34. Thus they buried Abner in Hebron, and the king lifted up his voice and wept at the grave of Abner, and all the people wept. The king chanted a lament for Abner and said, "Should Abner die as a fool dies? Your hands were not bound, nor your feet put in fetters. As one falls before the wicked, you have fallen." And all the people wept again over him. Very short but very powerful. I repeat. Thus they buried Abner in Hebron, and the king lifted up his voice and wept at the grave of Abner. David the king lifted up his voice and wept at the grave of Abner, and all the people wept. The king chanted a lament for Abner and said, "Should Abner die as a fool dies? Your hands were not bound. Your hands were not bound. Why did you stand there for them to kill you like a fool?" Now he said, "Nor your feet put in fetters." Your feet was not chained. As one falls before the wicked, you have fallen. And all the people wept again over him. And all the people wept again over him. Now it may be the first time you heard about Abner, but I want to tell you who Abner is. I want to tell you who Abner is. I want to tell you who Abner is. I want to tell you who Abner is, so that you can get the full message. Because some of you don't know Abner, and this is the first time you are hearing about Abner. Now I want to talk to you about Abner. Now Abner, the name Abner means father of lights. Now he's a cousin to Saul and a commander-in-chief of his army. Did you hear that? This is a commander-in-chief of his army. Now, while there was war between the house of Saul and the house of David, Abner was making himself strong in the house of Saul. And Abner conferred with the elders of Israel, saying, "For some time past you have been seeking David as king over you. But now, I want to be the one." Now, Abner was a man that was for Saul. He was the guard protecting Saul when David entered the camp of the king while everyone was asleep. Now, Abner was a commander-in-chief in the armies of Saul, and he became a commander, and he became among one of the people that fought for David. Now, these are men that David raised. Now, I want you to understand that David was a fierce man, a man of war, and a man of battle. If you ever come to this Periscope, this is the Warriors of Prayer Army for all nations. And all we do is that we pray. But before we pray, We take you through a level of prayer. We take you to a level of being a violent man in prayer. In fact, if you're a weak person, you can't stay on this place. Because this is a place of people whose eyes are red, who are ready to devour. Because this is a place where we believe that Satan works 24 hours on the clock. And when the enemy works 24 hours on the clock, what it is that you cannot afford to sleep. Now, David stood by the place where Abner died, and they buried Abner. And as somebody who was mourning, you will realize that a mourning person will be somebody crying and weeping and in sadness and saying things. But David was one mourner who was a brave mourner, a mourner that was mourning. And what he was saying, the Bible said that they buried Abner in Hebron. They buried Abner, and the king lifted up his voice and wept at the grave of Abner. Now, David is a strong man. Now, strong men are those that can cry. Strong men are those that can weep. Strong men are those that can rise up and cry unto God. Strong men are those that can rise up and pray and say, God, I am standing by you. I am standing for you. Strong men are those that will see things happening around them, but they can cry. Whenever you see a man that cannot cry, it means that they are weak. They are weak. Why? Because a man that can cry is a strong man. And why would men cry even though they are men? It's because they know that what has happened to them, they could have stopped it from happening, or it shouldn't have happened that way. Whenever you see a strong man crying, he's not crying because of what has happened. He's crying because it happened in their absence. He's crying because they thought that it shouldn't have gone that way. He's crying because they see. Strong men always empower you to move forward. I call myself a strong man because when you come on this periscope, it's not for games. I encourage you and empower you to move forward. Strong men are those that can cry. They cry over issues. That's why sometimes when you talk to people that are strong, they will tell you, why did that happen? Why do you allow that to happen? And this is why I want you to understand, you cannot live a defeated life. You cannot live a defeated life. You cannot live a life where you cannot live a life where you've been failing in battle. Nobody can stay around me or stay around where I am and be weak. You cannot. You may come weak, but you will not end weak. Oh yes. That's why you can join the Warriors of Prayer army in a weak state, but you will not end weak. You know why? Because every time and every minute, I am empowering you to press on. That's why I love David. David began to kill bears when nobody knew he was killing bears. He began to kill lions when nobody knew what he was doing. He was a sharp man and a strong man. He was the man that Saul wanted to give a child or had his daughter to, but he said that I need people that can kill 1,000 Philistines, hundreds of Philistines for me. David did it, and he brought the first kings of the Philistines and spread it before the king. He said, now what are you talking about? I am the only man that can go and defeat. I empower you that you can go out there and defeat. You see, if you're a weak woman, you will give birth to weak children, you raise weak children, your children will become weak, and your inheritance will be taken away. I said, if you are a weak woman, you will give birth to a weak children, and you will raise a weak family, and the enemy will come into your family and mess you up anytime. Can I talk to somebody? There is something that I want you to hear today. You cannot serve God, a strong God, and be a weak person. You cannot serve a strong God and be this weak. You cannot serve a strong God and be this weak. You cannot serve a powerful God and be this weak. You cannot serve the omniscient, the all-knowing, and be this somebody who is depth in your mind. You cannot serve all-powerful God and be this low. I want to talk to you today because the Bible said, I'm reading some scripture in 2 Samuel chapter 3, verse number 32 to 34. Welcome all of you back from the prayer on the other periscope. Thank God you are here. I want to feed you, I want to empower you to move forward. Now listen to me. David, the Bible said, thus they buried Abner in Hebron, and the king lifted up his voice and wept at the grave of Abner, and all the people wept. Now listen to me. I'm saying that strong men are those that can weep. When you see strong men weeping, any man that cannot weep is a weak man. I said a strong man that will weep, a strong man that will cry. When you see people that are crying and men that are crying, means that they are strong. They are strong because what they are seeing that they are crying over, they wish that it happened in their presence. They wish that they were there to encourage people. They wish that what happened was they were around to fight it. I want you to understand that if your husband cannot cry, or the people around you think that they are too strong to cry, tell them that I said they are weak people. Now the Bible said that, and David wept after the death of Abner. David wept together with the people, and while David was weeping, his tears was not for the death of Abner. His tears was how Abner died. His tears was how Abner died. I want you to understand. I know you are failing, but how are you failing? Are you failing as a weak person? Yes, I know you are failing, but how are you failing? You see, you must fail. Even if you fail, you must fail fighting. Somebody must appreciate and applaud you for failing. I'm telling you, there are people that can come around and shake your hand and they said you failed, but you did not fail as a weak man. You failed as a strong man. But I tell you that as long as our soul liveth and as long as we are serving God, we are not going to fail in any way. We are going to fight till we win. David said that, for thou teachest my hands to war. You must understand that the whole thing about the Christian faith is war. If you are standing there thinking that the enemy will come to you in a weak way, no. The devil is not a gentle devil. He comes to you in a rough way. You cannot be a gentle a believer and fight a rough devil. You must be rough with Satan. When it comes to dealing with Satan, you got to be rough. You cannot fight a rough Satan looking gentle as you are doing, as you are behaving. The Bible said that on the funeral grounds of Abner, a strong man, a commander, a man of war, a strong man stood there and the Philistines killed Abner as easy as anything. I want you to understand that if you will get me, you will not get me easily. I want to serve a notice on the devil that you cannot take any of my children, you can't take any of my sons and daughters. Go out there and tell the devil, yes, you can take from that house, but here it is not a weak zone, it's a strong zone. I want you to understand that before Satan will pounce on you, he will check you first. And what will Satan check? He will check your strength. He will check how powerful you are. He will check how strong you are in your mind. He will check whether you let things go or you are fighting. I want you to understand that this is a strong zone and you cannot afford to be weak here. Even if you come here weak, you must be strong. The Bible said Abner died, and listen to me, the families of Abner were around, the friends of Abner were around, the people that were crying for Abner were around. There were people that loved Abner. Can I talk to somebody? If somebody loves you, they should be able to strengthen you and tell you you can move forward. If somebody loves you, they should be able to encourage you. If somebody loves you, they should be able to talk to you what you must do. The Bible said something that when David heard that Abner was dead, he came to the funeral to cry. Now, David was not crying because Abner died. He was crying because of the way Abner died. Oh yes. Have you ever got somebody that will come to you and ask you how you failed, and the person begin to knock his hands like that? He said, oh my God, if I was here, who are you? Who are your friends? Who are the people around you? Who are the people you talk to? Are they able to stand with you in prayer? Are they able to tell you, let's go for it? The Bible said the same David in 2 Samuel chapter number 30, the Bible said when he came, Ziklag was on fire and the whole city was on fire. His children was taken away, his family were taken away, and the Bible said David wept. That's a strong man weep. They weep and they go after what they want. They do not weep and get sad. They weep because if I had been here. They weep and their weeping motivate them. If you ever see a strong man, what motivates them is their crying. Whenever you see a strong man crying, I'm telling you they are dangerous, because they are not crying just because they are failures. They are crying because of what they are about to do. They are crying because of what they are about to mount on the enemy. They are crying because of what they are about to tear the enemy down. They are crying because they foresee that they are about to take a dangerous step. I want you to understand that your eyes might drop tears, and your tears may not be that tears of sadness. It might be tears to tell the enemy that this year I am coming after you. Satan, I'm not being defensive. You see, sometimes believers become defensive. What they do is that they wait for Satan to bring it. No. You are not waiting for Satan to bring it. You are going where he is, and you are bringing on Satan. You are going on the offensive, not on the defensive. My God, it is here now that the Bible said that David came to the place where Abner was buried, and Abner was dead. And the Bible said that David opened his mouth and was crying. And as David was crying, everybody was crying. Now, you are talking about David the king. You must realize, listen to me, there are kings that are listening to me now. There are queens that are listening to me now. You will never become the queen you are until you war. You must be a woman of war before you become a woman that will be a queen. You must be a warrior before you can become a king. David wore himself onto the kingship. He did not get on the kingship easily. I want you to understand that there are a lot of things that have been prophesied about you. If you are waiting to get there easily, I'm telling you, you will not get there easily. easily. You must war. David war before he became the king. He was a warrior before he became the king. I want you to understand that for you to ascend into your hill, into the place of your kingship, into where God is taking you to, you must be prepared to war. I want you to understand that in order for you to produce the blessing of the Lord, you must be prepared to push. You know, some of you want to produce the blessing of the Lord in a neat, nice, comfortable environment, but you must be prepared to push. There is a miracle in you that you must push. Before David was called the king here, he was called David the warrior. He was called David the fighter. I want you to understand that there is something in you that must come out. I don't know why some people are listening until when it comes to people here, they always keep writing and they are looking at me. But I want you to understand as I'm preaching to you, you will never become that queen until you know how to battle. You will never, because the queen is in you. But when you battle your way, you get to the queenship of your life and you look beyond your shoulder. So I know where I'm starting from. I fought through it. I have battled through it. I am where I am because I fought. I am where I am because I battled. I'm where I am because I did not give up. I'm where I am because I war. You must be a warrior before you can be a king and a queen. My God, the Bible said that Abner died, and when Abner died in 2 Samuel chapter 3 verse number 32 to 34, Abner died. But when Abner died, the Bible said that there was a funeral procession. Everybody was on the funeral. Everybody was crying. But one man that I like, one hero that I like, somebody that was crying, and he was not crying for the death of Abner. He was crying for the failure of Abner. He was crying for the fact that Abner died like a fool. He was saying, and now listen to what David said. Then 33, the king chanted a lament for Abner and said, should Abner die as a fool dies? The king said, should Abner die like a fool die? I want to challenge you today. Why are you sitting here and the enemy is devouring your family? The devil is devouring your husband. Everything is going down. And I want you to understand that must you die like a fool? Must you sit down and be failing like you're failing? Why are you sitting down and going down as everybody is making it? You're going down. David, in the midst of tears, crying, asked a question. He said, must Abner die like a fool? And everybody was looking at the king. Why is the king saying that? Yes, there was tears in his eyes, but he was still angry. He said, Abner, why did you die like a fool? I want you to understand that to die like a fool is by choice. To be born like a fool is not your fault, but to die like a fool is by choice. Oh yes. To enter into a place and people are fighting you is not a problem, but to allow them to overcome you like a fool is your choice. I want you to understand that to leave or to come or to be in a place where you didn't know and you see problems coming, it's not a problem. But to watch and you see your life dying like a fool is a problem. Why will a king in the midst of a funeral pause? He paused for a minute. David said, let me pause for a minute. Why did Abner die like a thief? Like a fool? Why did Abner die like a fool? No, the king could not think it. He could not understand it. After this scripture, when you read down there, David was furious and he went for battle. He said, come on, wait a minute. Have you ever sat down and thought of some things that happen in your life? Have you ever sat down and forgot about weeping and forget about, wow, people see, some of you like pity. Some of you are comfortable around people that will pity you. People that will say, oh, it will be well, you know, God will do it. God will do it. Let me tell you something. At this point of your life, you don't need pity from anybody. No. You can't say, in the midst of funeral, in the midst of crying, in the midst of pain, in the midst of the king weeping and mourning. Come on. In the midst while tears were rolling down his eyes like that, while tears was going down his eyes, my God, he said, wait a minute, I may be crying, but why am I weeping? Why should Abner die like a fool? Why? The king now stopped and said, why must Abner die like a fool? Have you ever asked yourself a question? Why am I going down like a fool? Why are things not working for me? Why are things going? Have you ever checked? The king in the midst of the funeral said, wait a minute, why must Abner die like a fool? Why? Now, he did not end there. He asked some particular questions I want to ask you. He said, why must Abner die like a fool? David was surrounded by many people, and you will not hear the king say this, but this was a warrior king, a man that ascended the throne, and he warred to get to the throne. I want you to understand that if you don't fight to get to where you want to go, you will get to the place and you come down. It is when you fight to get somewhere that people are scared of you, because they know you've been through the thick and thin and nothing stopped you. You fought through the rain, you fought through the storm, you fought through the cold, and you come where you are, and people begin to salute you and call you a general. You are not a general because you are given the title a general. You are given the title a general because of the things you suffer. The Bible said that when Abner died, they buried Abner in the grave, and where David stood there and made a lamentation, and in the lamentation where David was making, whilst David was crying, he asked a profound question. He said, why must Abner die like a fool? Come on, you are too gifted to die like a fool. I said you are too talented to die like a fool. You are too blessed to die like a fool. You are too graced to go down like others go down. I said you are too much of a potential to go down like any ordinary person. I said you are too beautiful to go down like any other ghost. You are too blessed to die without having a baby. Why must Abner die like a fool? I want to challenge you today that in spite of what you are going through, the Lord sent me to tell you that you cannot die like a fool. You cannot go down like this. You cannot allow asthma and high blood pressure and sickness to kill you like that. You refuse to go down like it. He said, why must I go like that? Why must Abner die like a fool? The king could not, David could not think it. He said, I know Abner. I know Abner is a false. I know Abner is a strong. Why that Abner died? In spite of all Abner's skills, in spite of all Abner knows about war, in spite of the potential Abner has, why must Abner die like a thief? I want you to understand, never allow yourself to go down, and don't let somebody come and stand there. Why should this woman die like this? I know this person is gifted. Why must he go down like this? Why must his ministry collapse like this? Why must his marriage go down like this? Why must his finances go? Why? When people begin to ask you that, it's a pity. They are telling you that why should you go down like this? Unfortunately, Abner died, and David said, why must Abner die like a fool? David could not think it. He could not understand it. I want you to understand that you are too gifted to go down like this. I said you are too beautiful a woman to allow this crackacher, this ugly man to fool around you. You are too beautiful to allow any pooch to fool around you. I'm telling you. You are too gifted to be working for $30 an hour. I'm telling you. Why must you do that? It's time for you to rise up and challenge yourself and say, I am not going this lane this way. I am not going this way. You see, some of you are having high certificate, but you are working under certificate. Your works are very low and nothing is working for you. David asked a question in the midst of a funeral, in the midst of what things are going down, in the midst of what people are crying. David made a statement. He said, why must Abner die like a thief, like a fool? Have you ever sat down and asked yourself a question? Why am I going down like this? Why? David could not think it. Whenever you begin to think about how down you are going, I'm telling you, it's a time for you to rise up. Have you ever thought of it? Or you are celebrating yourself? You are celebrating. Oh yes, I got this word from Tessa. Abner was a fool because he trusted his enemy Joab. You see, Joab was a man that was following. Joab was a man. Abner was a man that was against David, and Joab was a man following David. But Joab pretended as if he loved Abner, and he died. But listen, Joab killed Abner, and listen to me, he died like a thief. Now listen to me. David expected Abner to fight. I don't know whether you have your last breath or you have your last hair. I don't care whether you have your last fingernails. You must fight till you die a hero. Oh yes. People must celebrate you in your death. They must not lament you in your death. I said there are people that are dead, and people stand on their grave and they salute them because they know that they died as heroes. You are not going down this way. I said you are not going down this way. If you die like a pauper, and if you die without giving birth to a child, you never live. You are a disgrace to the next generation. I said if you go down like this, you are a disgrace. You never live. If you die like your mother died, you are a disgrace. You never lived. I pray for you today that you must rise up out of the mediocre and tell yourself, I can't go down like this. I don't care whether you're a single mama or you're a single woman. People share this word with somebody. I don't care whether you're a single woman. I don't care whether you are married or not. I don't care whether somebody help you or not. I don't care whether you are married or not. I don't care whether you are single or not. I want you to understand that you cannot go down. I refuse to die. I refuse to go down like this. That's why I am fearless. There is nothing in this world except that which is to come. Because I want to move forward, and I want to tell the enemy that anywhere, anytime, in spite of what you bring, I may have headache, but I will not tolerate and I will not entertain headache. Oh yes, the doctors can bring some tests and some results, and they will tell me I have this kind of sickness, but I tell I'm not going to accept that, because I refuse to go down like a fool. Yedaba sita yadaba. I want you to rise up wherever you are as I preach this infallible word and I preach this truth to you. You must be relentless. You must tell yourself, come hell or high waters, I will make it. The Bible said David asked a question. It was the king that was making this lamentation. He said, why must Abner die like a fool? Why must Abner die like a fool? Why am I going through this? Why do I need to suffer like this? Have you ever stand down and check yourself like that? Sometimes what will let you rise up is when you see the intelligence God has given you and the blessing God has given you, and when you see how blessed you are. But if you will still go on that level, then I want you to understand that you never leave. I said that there is nothing wrong with you being born poor, but to die poor is a sign that you never leave. I said there is nothing wrong with a doctor diagnose you with a sickness, but for you to accept the sickness and live with it means that you are a fool. I said there is nothing wrong with the doctor diagnose you with a sickness, but for you to allow the sickness to kill you, it's a sign that you are dying a fool's death. Now, somebody will ask, why is this preacher saying that? I'm saying this because you are not born with it. You must not die with it. I say you are not born with it. You will not die with it. I want you to understand that full vigor and full vim. You must make up your mind that I am a woman, but I'm not going to behave like a woman. I must fight like a man and win like a man until somebody see me and salute me. I want to talk to somebody that you should not go down this way. I challenge you today by the grace that is on my life that you are not going down this way. I challenge you by the grace and the anointing on my life that you must not go down this way. The Bible said, David said that the king said, why should Abner die as a fool dies? Why? David wanted an explanation. David wanted an explanation. Have you ever beat yourself before? Have you ever punched yourself before? Have you ever called yourself a fool before? Have you ever rise up and ask yourself why? Have you ever come to a point to understand, why am I going through this? I want you to understand that you cannot afford to go down and to die like a fool. The Bible says something. He said your hands were not bound. This is the next question David asked. After he said that why should Abner die like a fool, he asked a next question. He said, your hands were not bound. When I hear this word, it moved me to the next level. Why should I have these two hands and sit there for me to become? Why? He said your hands were not bound. Abner, your hands were not tied. Why should you die like a fool? This world is not for special people. You are one of the creatures the Lord has created to fulfill the goodness of this earth. You cannot go down. Your hands are not bound. Why are you sitting down when people are praising God? You are just murmuring and complaining. Why? He said, oh God, oh God, oh God, oh God. He said, why? Your hands were not bound. David was talking to the dead man. He said, Abner, why did you die like a fool? Your hands were not bound. Why? Listen to me. David had fighting men that could fight until the sword would enter into their hands like that. I came to tell you that you have not come to the end of the road. You have chosen to come to the end of the road. Oh yes. You have too much strength in you to die like this. The Bible said that day when Gideon was hiding, the angel said, go in this thy strength. I want you to understand that David was making this pronouncement on Abner, not because he hated Abner, because he knew what Abner carries. He knew that Abner is a carrier of strength. He knew that Abner is a warrior. He knew that Abner is a mighty man of war. He knew that Abner should not die like this. I want to ask you, when people come to your life to challenge you, they are not insulting you. They are telling you to rise up. I know that as I'm preaching, somebody will take offense, but I'm preaching to you to rise up. You cannot live in this world and go down like you're going down. You cannot watch your life go down and you're watching it. David asked a question, why must Abner die like a fool? And he said, and he said, your hands were not found. He said, your hands were not bound. Can you imagine David talking to the dead man? He said, Abner, I'm crying, I'm weeping, I'm sad. I'm not sad because you are dead. I'm sad because you are resting as a fool. I'm not sad because you are dead. I'm sad because you are not supposed to rest by now. I want to talk to some of you that are resting. I want to talk to some of you that are sleeping. I want to talk to you that you must wake up from your slumber. Oh yes, wake up. Wake up from your slumber. Wake up. You cannot die without giving birth to a child. You cannot die without doing that. You cannot die. You cannot die. You can't, because God did not tell you that. You cannot die. I challenge you today that you cannot die like this. David said, Abner, why must you die like a fool? He said, your hands were not bound. I don't know, Abner. I don't know. I can't understand why you chose to die this death. David was speaking, and I'm telling you that as David was speaking, Abner's family were standing around and nobody could question the king because they knew that the king was speaking the truth. I refuse to die unless somebody come and stand there and make these declarations about my body. It cannot happen. If anybody will come and see me dead lying there, the person must salute me and say, you are a hero. As you are dying, you die a death of favor. You are dead by your death. Was a champion's death. I want you to understand. You must understand that don't wait till people come and ask you these questions. As you live now, you must tell yourself that as long as I live, I must make an impact. As long as I live, I will take charge. As long as I live, the Lord has said I will marry. As long as I live, the Lord has said I will have a child. I must produce. As long as I live, the Lord said I shall be a great preacher. I must be that. You cannot afford to fail yourself. Abner failed himself. He said, your hands were not bound, nor your feet put in fetters. In other words, why did you die like a helpless fool, Abner? Why? I want you to understand that it's time to take charge. You must put your destiny into your own hands and tell the enemy, now I know I can't go, I'm not going to wait. Listen, if you die and people pull your certificate and they read your resume and they look at you, they will curse you in your grave. David was lamenting, but he was cursing Abner. He said, Abner, you're a fool. Why must you die like a fool? Abner, I know who you are. I know what you carry. Why must you go down like that? I know that some of you are dealing with some things. You are dealing with men in your life that you shouldn't deal with. You are dealing with people in your life you should not deal with. And somebody will come out, why are you dealing with this fool? You are too intelligent like that. Why are you going this way? You are too smart than this. And when people begin to talk to you that way, please don't take offense. They are trying to tell you, wake up. They are trying to tell you, wake up. When somebody calls you and asks, why must you go deep down in this way? Why? Because they know who you are. I want you to understand that you are carrying something great in your life. You are carrying something great in your life. You cannot afford to be underestimated. Abner died this death, and David asked a serious question. Should Abner die like a fool? Must it be so? And when you saw a strong man crying, David was not just weeping. He said, Abner, you never lived. David wept in Ziklag, but he wiped his face. And that Bible said he went chasing the men. He said, I cannot afford this. Can I talk to somebody? If you will ever rise up out of your ashes of mediocrity, and if you will move forward, I am telling you that you will not see this lament on your grave. But somebody will say, hail the hero, the man that lived and made the impact. That's why even in Jesus' resurrection. Even in his grave, he was still a power. I want you to understand that the greatest in you must not die. Abner died, and David knew that it was not a good death. It was an abnormal death. It was an abnormal death. It was a death that shouldn't happen. Now he said, your hands were not bound. Why didn't you fight, Abner? Why are you behaving as if your hands are tied? Some people are behaving as if their hands are tied. And all they are talking about are other human beings like them. Have you heard about her? Do you know what she's doing? She's a mighty guy. He's a mighty woman. He does that. Is your hand tied? Why can't you take that bolster with these two hands? People, your hands were not given to you for decoration. Your hands are given to you to war, to work, to bring something out. I say your hands are not given to you to play games. Your hands are given to you to make an impact in this world. And he asked a question. He said your legs were not tied in chains. In other words, your legs must make up some movement. You've been sitting down, cross your leg, crying, asking for help. The Lord sent me to tell you, don't ask for help. Take a step towards helping yourself. That's why you must time yourself to be on a periscope. It's still a step you are taking. Some of you have gotten your hands tied up and your legs are tied up. I want you to understand that you must move forward and know that God has not tied my hands. My hands are not given to me to play games. My hands are given to me to make an impact. What are you doing with 10 fingers? 10 fingers. 10 fingers, 10 fingers. The other people you are celebrating out there, the other people you are scared of, they also have 10 fingers. But ask yourself a question: why must I die like a thief? Anybody that asks these questions move to the next level of their life. The 4 lepers were behind the city gate. They sat there with their leprosy and they said, why must we sit here till we die? Why must we sit here? They asked the question, and from the day they asked the question, they were moving to do exploits. My God, the Bible said when they asked that, why must we sit there till we die? They begin to move to the camp of the enemy, and they possessed wealth. Breakthrough became their portion. I want to speak to you. Why must you sit down like that? Why must you die like a thief? You must ask why. Why? The Bible said they ask why. Anybody that asks why is ready to move to the next level. I want to ask you, where do you want to move to? How far do you want to go? I know that you are serving a Most High God, but serving the Most High God does not warrant you to sit down. The Most High God expects you to go high. I said the Most High God expects you to move high. Why must I go down like that? He said your hands were not bound, Abner. And he said your feet were not tied up. Why did you allow yourself? Come on. There are some things you need to take a step to. You may not have the resource, but when you take a step, the resource will come. Abner, your feet were not tied. Why did you die like that? He said, as one falls before the wicked, you are fallen. And all the people wept again over him. I want to ask you, is it pity you want? Or you want to move forward? Is it pity you want? The Bible said, and all the people wept over Abner after David made the pronunciation. David brought them to the realization of the guy they have lost. David brought them to the realization of the man they have just lost. David opened their eyes and their eyes to see the man they have lost. And when David said, Abner, why some people from that crowd, from that day told themselves that I'm not going to receive this lament on my funeral day. I want to challenge you today. That it's time for you to use your legs and use your hands. It's time for you to use your hands and use your legs. You may be viewing us live. Follow us on Periscope. You can go to our website, whopperfan.org, www.whopperfan.org. You can view us live there. I want you to understand that it is not time for you to ask for pity from any man. It's time for you to use your legs. David asked Abner in his grave. He didn't get a chance to speak to Abner when he was alive, but he got a chance to address Abner. And when David was addressing Abner, he was in a way speaking to the living people around him. I said when David was addressing Abner, he was in a way speaking to the living people around. You know what he was telling them? Every one of them, they heard David made this statement and they told themselves, not me. Today I'm speaking to you. I want you to tell yourself, not me. I want you to tell yourself, not me, not today. My hands are not bound. Why should I sit down for somebody to play games with my life? My legs are not tied. Why should I sit down to go down like a fool? No. It's time for you to rise up with your weapons in your hands and make declaration, not me. Not me. Not me. If I have to face it in fasting, if I have to face it in prayer, if I have to face it anyway, anyhow, I am not going to be addressed like Abner. Abner died like a fool. I want to speak to you today. I don't care where you are. It will be late when you go into the grave. I said it will be too late when you go into the grave. But as long as you live now, it's the time for you to rise up. I say it's time for you to rise up. It's time for you to rise up. You cannot afford. I said you have the opportunity now. You are a living being. I'm challenging you today. We are going to pray. And I'm going to challenge you to pray well. That God, I cannot die like a fool. I will not die like a fool. I will not die like a fool. I will not die like a fool. Somebody open your mouth and talk to God. You cannot receive this at your grave. In your grave, somebody will say, once upon a time she lived. She lived. She lived. Don't fail your children. Don't fail the next generation. In my introduction, I said if you are born weak, if you live weak, you will give birth to weak children. Your family will be a weak family. And people will treat your family weak. And everybody will take advantage of your family because you are a weak person. You are a weak man. That even when people change things about your family, you can't do anything. You cannot afford to go down like that. You must take some things into prayer. Some people that are messing with you, your supervisor, why should you? David is asking you, your hands are not tied and your legs, why are you sitting down for your supervisor to take advantage over you and talk to you anyhow? Yes, you may not be able to fight her, but you have hands to pray. You have legs to move into prayer. You cannot afford to sit down and let somebody play games with your mind. No. No, it cannot be. I said it cannot be. It must not be. When David was asking the question, he knew that there's an error. In other words, he was saying, Abner, your death is an error. David spoke to Abner. He said, Abner, your death is an error. You are dead, but it's an error. I know that some of you, you are struggling financially. It's an error. Some of you are beautiful. You don't have a man in your life. It's an error. David addressed at Abner's funeral, suggested to Abner that Abner, you are dead. But I'm telling you, if your ghost is hearing Abner, your death is an error. David was telling the people around that I know that Abner is dead, but I'm telling you as a king that Abner's death is an error death. I'm telling you, your failure is an error. What you are going through is an error. And David addressed Israel, and the Bible said after, and the people wept again. Again, they wept again. Because David opened their eyes and to tell them that yes, this guy must not be mourned. He has failed. And Abner, you are a failure. David spoke to Abner in his grave that Abner, you are a failure. He said, why must you die like a fool? Your hands were not bound, your feet was not tied. So why did you die? Abner, you are a failure. I pray for you. You are a living being. You cannot fail. You cannot fail. You can't fail your generation. You cannot fail. If you remain like this, I'm telling you that you remain like this, you are a failure. I speak to you that you cannot fail. Ask the Lord, what must I do? Why am I like this? What happened? Why am I where I am? Why are things like that? Why am I struggling like this? Why am I going through this? You must ask yourself this question. David addressed Israel. David spoke to the people. He said, why should Abner die like this? Why? Why must you be treated like this at your workplace? Because you are not taking charge yet. Why must people talk about you like that? Because you're not taking. People let the heart flow. Some of you, you come here, you don't flow the heart. You come to listen and write. Let the heart flow. Some of you, you come here to write. You don't flow the heart. Come here to just listen and watch. You don't send the heart. Let the heart flow. I want to speak to you. In the last end, the Bible said, and all the people wept again over him. Yes, Nkechi, you cannot fail. You cannot fail. Nkechi, you cannot fail. I decree and I declare that you cannot fail. Destiny cannot stop here. Your destiny cannot stop here. I want to challenge you today. Nkechi, you need to call me on WhatsApp. I've not heard from you for long. You cannot fail. There is something that God is doing. This is deep. Anytime I read scriptures like this, yes, you can be my son. Anytime I read scriptures like this, I tell myself, not me. That's why I've raised violent people in prayer. There are people around me, when you come and they are praying, they pray like animals, because they have been taught to know that that's their life, that if they refuse, that's their life. I don't care to look skinny, because something must change. Somebody should put my WhatsApp number for him. That's why I keep telling you that we must not be hearers only. It cannot happen. You must move up. David was a bold man, and he stood at somebody's funeral ground and looked at the dead body and said, Abner, you failed. Can you take it? Can you take it? Like I look at it and said, you are a failure, you are failing, and I don't think you must fail. David called Abner a failure in his grave. He said, Abner, you are a failure. Abner, you are a failure. And he justified his statement. He said, Abner, the reason why I'm telling you a failure because your hands were not bound. Why did you stand there? And I will explain to you in the evening how Abner died. And that will be a bomb to you. In the evening, I will explain to you. I know it's about, what's the time there? I'll give you time, and today I'll follow my time because I'm going deeper on it. I will tell you how Abner died. People, no special people have been created on earth. No special people. 4:50. Okay. Exactly 4.5 hours. I will come back. Like 8:50. I will come back. Or 9. Listen to me. That's my WhatsApp number. I want you to understand that you cannot die. Yes, they have the ability to comment on the website. There's a place you can leave comment and testimony, and also you can leave your email address so that when we are doing any meeting, we can broadcast and send you a mail of the upcoming event. I'm telling you, it cannot be said. Oh yes, results must come. I keep telling people we need results. We need results. I have not told people what I'm doing, but this fasting I'm going, I'm praying that God make my mouth sharp. That whatever I say must happen. Because people are tired. People are tired. People are tired. They don't die broke. David cried at Abner's grave. He said, Abner, I'm crying. See, David's tears at Abner's grave was not the fact that David was weeping for Abner. He was crying. He said, Abner, why should you die like this? Why should you die like a fool, Abner? Why? Why? And people could literally look at the king saying, Abner, you are a failure. You die like a fool. He said, your hands were not tied. Yes, you could do it. There's a place you can do that. You must understand that you cannot go down like this. I want to speak to you. I'll come back at exactly 9 p.m. Eastern time to break this word down for you. I'm already at the grave of Abner. I will tell you about the life of Abner, and I'll tell you about how Abner died. Then it is going to be a stirring up for you. It will be a stirring up for you. I will tell you about how Abner lived, the achievement of Abner, what Abner stood for, and how he died. Great men must not die like fools. I'm speaking to you. You are a great woman. You must not die like a fool. You are a great woman. I don't care who is looking at you and despising you now. You must prove a point. Sometimes people think that there's no point. You must prove a point. You must prove. I have a point to prove. I'm telling you. I have anybody. See, when people despise me, because I have a point to prove. Don't ever tell someone I don't have a point to prove. You have a point to prove. Yes, it will be emailed very soon. I must prove a point. I don't know about it, but for me, I must prove a point. I don't care. I'm not competing with people, but I must prove a point. I said you must prove a point. Okay. Call me when you get down. You have a point to prove. If you ever think that you don't have a point to prove, you are lying to yourself. You have a point to prove. You have a point to prove. There are people that have looked at you and think that you are nothing. You must prove something. You must prove a point. The point that you must prove is to prove a point that you have a God. I'm telling you that people, Goliath spoke against David, not against God. Come on. He said, I will kill you and give your carcass to the animals. But David said, I need to prove a point by the God whose armies you have defiled. David proved a point. That's why when his brothers were trying to intimidate him, he said, is there no a cause? He left them. Anybody that wants to discourage you, don't stay with them. Anybody that wants to discourage you, I said, don't stay with people that will discourage you. People that will tell you, don't try that, don't do anything with them. Don't have any connection with people that will discourage you. You need people that will encourage you now. You need people that will take you to your next level. Anybody that's not going anywhere, leave them with the asses because you want to go to the next level. You must understand that you are not here to be discouraged. I'm telling you, anybody who will not encourage you, leave them and move forward, because I have a nest in my spirit. I said, anybody that will discourage you, tell them, next, I'm moving to the next level. You cannot afford to follow people that will discourage you. You cannot afford. I've not promised anybody a direction. If it's about the marriage, the singles conference, we have sent it already, except one person that today told me that I forgot about her, but I was sorry for her. Apart from that, those that are expecting the marriage one, they'll receive it very soon. But as a matter of fact, this is not place for direction. I want you to hear the word. There is something that you need to know. I challenge you today. And there are some people that will not encourage you. Let them go. I fight. I can't afford to lose. A woman today that is in Bahamas, a woman in the visa session, I sent her messages. She said, I don't think I can. I have to do what you want. I said, yes, you must do it. Because I said, my passport cannot return to me void, except it accomplishes the purpose by which it was sent to Bahamas. Listen to me. You cannot afford to fail. I can't see people around me failing. I will be sad. I can't see it. I can't see somebody trying to cut somebody's life short. I can't think it. I can't see somebody trying to bring somebody down. How? Why should you sit down for somebody to bring you down? Who is having a urinary tract infection? Who is that person? If the person is there, let God arise for her and let there be healing. I'm speaking to you. 9:30 p.m. Eastern Time, I will explain to you about who Abner is. I will explain to you about Abner's life. We don't know who Jenny is. You can contact me on WhatsApp and I will tell you what to do. I will tell you how Abner died. And before it's all over, may the good Lord of the Wapafan family, Warriors of Prayer Army for all nations, may that God be with you. So we come here 9:30. Carl, how are you? Failure, no option. All or nothing. Simple. Bottom line. May the Lord God bless you. May the Lord God take you far. In Jesus' name. Amen. I'll see you again at exactly 9:30 Eastern Time. People, I have 80 people online now. We have to rise up to about 200, 300, 500, 600 people. I love all of you. Connect somebody. If you are viewing us, follow us. I will come and get deeper tonight at 9:30 to teach you about Abner. I am at Abner's funeral, and I have to take you to Abner's life and tell you how Abner died. May the Lord bless you. It's a date with God. 9:30 sharp. Move.